Good day, YouTube viewers, subscribers, Facebook friends, Facebook family. Today is September. I keep trying to get September back here. Today is October the 24th, 2013. I want to welcome you to another edition of Joe's Politics 101. You know, in watching the news most of the week and reading a few of the newspapers, you're seeing all of this Republican this and Republican that, and members of the Republican Party doing so many different things that sometimes make you wonder just what is really going on in our nation's politics. The thing that's trending now, aside from the poor introduction or rollout of the healthcare reform bill, as far as the computers program and data processing situation goes, is this guy Ted Cruz out of Texas, a senator out of Texas. You know, I often wonder in my thoughts about different politicians and what they be doing, is what do the people that voted for them really believe, you know? I don't think that the number of Tea Party people is enough to really put a person into office, even though he may have won a primary through them, due to low voter turnout. You know, oftentimes these people like this guy Ted Cruz slip in under the radar. I often wonder what people who did go vote for him are thinking now, especially those who are, you know, recipients of Medicare, Medicaid, retired veterans, disabled veterans, the different ones that he's more or less set up a program of trying to attack the healthcare reform bill by shutting the government down. I really wonder what they think, you know. And it really doesn't matter what they think anymore, because they're stuck with this guy for 6 years. 6 long years of having to put up with someone like him. You know, I'm pretty sure in a year or two, all of this fever and Ted Cruz mania will probably die away and go somewhere, you know. But I've always been of the idea, in my opinion, of looking at human behavior, is that you can judge a person's attitude by his or her behavior. And one of the things that keeps striking me every time I look at this gentleman, you know, I always try and take a person's features and put together a mindset in that, you know. And after hearing a news report, I think it was on either Fox or one of the stations, where they talked about Ted Cruz's father preaching a sermon where he pretty much said that his son is the chosen one, you know, whether it be for president or the king or whatever it is that he was referring to. You know, trying to put that in a rap is kind of hard, because you never know what a person is thinking. You know, and it got me to thinking about, you know, as far as, I guess, a Cuban, and it got me thinking about the country of Cuba and the Cuban culture. Cuba is pretty much set up somewhat similar to what the United States is set up as. You know, you have classes, race, and all those things in Cuba, because you have an Afro-Cuban population or black Cuban population there, and you have a white Cuban population, which I guess would be the Spanish or some European form of whatever, and then you have the Latino people there. So Ted Cruz's attitude and his features, you know, they kind of just throw me as there being something wrong with this guy. You know, I've studied stuff like this, and it most of the times when you see a person with the type of behavior that he has, that forceful, I'm right, you wrong type of behavior, there's usually something wrong with him, mentally, or, you know, there's a stability issue going on here. And what Cruz strikes me as is a type of absolutist person. He's a person that believes, you know, if he believes in something, he will fight you about it until the death. He will lie about it. He will, you know, by any means necessary to get his point across. You can't say anything to this guy or about this guy that would, you know, make him reconsider. You know, he's one of those type of individuals. Now, having said that, is that somebody that we would really like to have as a leader of our nation? You know, someone who is more of a dictator, have a dictator behavior than a, what would you call it, than a willing to negotiate behavior. You know, this thing with trying to, you know, repeal health care reform, you know, everybody calls it Obamacare. It's not Obamacare. I don't give a damn how you twist it, what you is or whatever. It's health care reform. That's what it's about. It's about getting insurance for people who can't afford insurance and stopping the insurance companies from robbing us blind like they have been doing all these years by kicking us off the rolls when we get sick and different stuff like that. You know, I know some of this from experience. It's not just me talking out of the blue sky about what the healthcare companies do. I know it from experience. But at any rate, would we want a person like Ted Cruz running our country, where the policies that he would put into place would be detrimental to the average American's pursuit of the American dream? You know, our country is based on the idea that if you start as a child, you grow up, you go to school, you get your education, you go to college, you work hard at everything that you do, trying to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, that you'll succeed in that pursuit of the American dream. You know, it's just amazing how these people have came out of the dark, out of nowhere, and just try to force themselves into our lives and demand that we do things the way they want us to do them. You know, this thing that he said over the weekend when he went back from Washington to Texas, that it was so good to be back in the United States. I don't like Texas. You know, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't like Texas. I've been quite a few places in this world outside of the United States, and I've been to just about every state in the United States at some point in time in my life. And the only bad experience that I've ever had because of who I am was in the state of Texas. I was born right next door in New Mexico, but the only experience that I ever had when it comes to race was in the state of Texas. I really don't like Texas, you know, and I might be a little bit biased, but Texas is made up of some nice cities. You know, quite a few nice cities that are there. But then when you get beyond those cities, you know, like San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Fort Worth, Dallas, Abilene, Big Springs, you know, those places like that, you get away from those and you get out in the rest of Texas. Texas is just a big old, actually, wasteland, you know, a lot of farms, ranches, and then the rest of it is just a bunch of old dry, bushy, mesquite land, you know, where they drill oil on it, dump waste in it, and do whatever else they want to do. Texas ain't all of that. It's just a huge, big piece of land that everybody seems to think is the best place to be. You know, if people like it there, they like it there. If they don't, they don't. Fine with me. But for this, you know, the things that they're doing, you know, as far as minorities go, Hispanics, Afro-Americans, and now I see they're attacking women's voting rights, you know, because there's a woman running for governor. You know, this eccentric, this dictatorial, totalitarian type of mess that these white men are doing isn't making very much sense to me. It don't say anything about freedom, liberty, and justice. You know, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if they would cut Texas plumb out of the union. It really wouldn't. Let them be their own country. They probably sop up more money from the federal government than any state in the world, than in the rest of the country, because of the size and the number of people there, and poor people. And I know there's a lot of poor people. There's a lot of sharecroppers there. Most of the Hispanics that's out in the rural areas are sharecroppers of some sort, working for some big farmer. You know, so, you know, the radicalism and the bad ideas that these people have for Texas don't mean it's good for the rest of the country. You know, and a lot of these senators, you know, they go from their home states to Washington, D.C. as a senator or House of Representative member, and they talk about they represent their state. You know, I understand that you represent your state, but there's also another side to the being a national politician. You know, your job is to help govern the country, not just Texas, Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arizona. Your job is a bifold. It takes in the whole United States of America. So what's good for Texas, more than likely, is good for Arizona, Alabama, New Mexico, Georgia, Mississippi. You know, those policies that are set out are probably for everybody. You know, Ted Cruz and a lot of these guys, you know, they are already relatively wealthy, or they have these high income jobs. You know, being a state senator or a House of Representative member, that's a high income job. Don't everybody make over $100,000 a year? Don't everybody make $100,000 a year? So if you have one of those positions, you're doing quite well. You're doing quite well. You know, since President Obama has been the president, all you've seen is obstruction, trying to force him into a failed situation. You know, I'm hoping, you know, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to pray for somebody like Ted Cruz, because there's nothing you can say or do that can help him in understanding what he's doing is detrimental to the well-being of our nation, our national security, how other countries see us, and our standing in the rest of the world. Those are the kind of things that he probably don't think about. But if he was the president, how would he deal with the national scene? That's a good question that anyone should be able to ask themselves, and come up with some type of basic understanding as to he should never ever be even considered for president, which I don't think he'll ever be considered for it, nor will he ever be president of the United States. He's too vile and eccentric and ignorant. God bless you. Thanks for viewing my video. Ciao.